So, as long as we're talking about old training partners, let me talk about Dan Black back there. Dan Black apparently just fought a fight in Thailand, which is very interesting to me because I had really two main places where I learned fighting. Well, it was San Diego, San Francisco, and New York were the main places where I trained. In New York, I trained with Koban in Muay Thai. In Northern California, I trained with a bunch of people, a lot of boxing, a lot of MMA with Scrap Pack. And at the Scrap Pack, I met Dan Black. Dan was an East Bay trainer that would bring out a group of killers from the East Bay. Matt Baker, who's still threatening for world titles. I think he had a karate combat fight recently. Javier Vigny, who was just an absolute animal and retired suddenly. And I always tried to get out of him what happened, but he won't say anything. Dan taught me a lot sparring with him at the Scrap Pack. What would happen is we would spar with the young fighters, his young fighters, and of course the ones at the Scrap Pack. And then after that was all done, Dan and I would sit there and we'd beat the hell out of each other after it. And remember, that was when I treated sparring like it was full contact because I didn't know any better, right? And Muay Thai guys have a real reputation for going very slow during sparring, but why? Because they fight all the time. Well, that wasn't Dan Black. Dan Black went full blast with me in sparring every single time. Very, very tough guy. Didn't matter if I hit him with a kitchen sink, kept coming. Skills were unbelievable. His analytics were unbelievable. I learned a lot of things from Dan Black, sparring with him and talking to him. And he had a great stable of fighters, the ones I've talked about, and it all fell apart. And why does that happen? Guys, relationships in fighting with ego is very difficult. On top of that, place the fact that everybody's got to earn a living, right? Everybody's got to survive while you're trying to get to that title together. And that's not easy to do, right? Notoriously in fighting sports, there's very little money. But as I think Dan's showing behind you right there, and I've told people before who've questioned why I go so hard, fighting for me was never about money. And people have asked that everywhere. Like, why do you do jiu-jitsu tournaments? It's for the money. Like, that you should fight for money. And I think to myself, this has never been about money for me. And seeing Dan Black back there fighting for a title in Thailand at our age shows that this isn't about money, man. It's about love. That's what Dan loves. I know he came up short. He said that in his Facebook post. Dan, it doesn't matter whether you won or lost, brother. You were there doing it, and that is freaking awesome. And Dan is a lot more tolerant than I am, right? Like, he still trains young fighters. He deals with the ego and the problems and stuff, and he rolls right on, and he keeps going. It doesn't matter how many fighters he loses, and that is very respectable. Everybody, read my book, Warrior of the